And how much did you end up, if you don't want to say, that's cool, but how much did you sell it for?
I sold it for $1 million.
Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast, where we share stories of inventors who turn their idea into a product. Please visit our website at www.inventionstories.com. And now, from the Invention Stories podcast World Headquarters Studios in Morro Bay, California, is our host, Robert Baer.
Welcome to the Invention Stories podcast. I am your host, Robert Baer, and thank you for joining us. You're listening to episode 42, our interview with Leslie Adami, inventor of the shoe-in. I'm very excited to share this story because Leslie made $1 million without even selling one unit of her invention. So, without further ado, we have Leslie Adami on the line from Killington, Vermont. So let's get started. Leslie Adami, thank you for joining us. I just want to start at the beginning. What kind of kid were you? Were you an inventor type? Were you a typical kid, or?
Oh, that's a tough one. No, I was pretty much all around tomboy. I had played a lot of sports, and I really didn't get into the inventing stage till much later, but I think I always had a fairly creative mind, if you will.
And you went to college?
I did. I went to Lynchburg College in Lynchburg, Virginia.
And were you a good student?
I was pretty good. I probably could have done better if I stayed away from the party scene a little more. I did enough to get by, let's put it that way.
Finally, somebody I understand. Oh, yeah, school came easy to me. I was like, wait a minute.
That's right.
And what did you study in school?
You know what? Just liberal arts. I did not have a major, so I just left the door wide open, and wherever fate was going to take me, it was going to take me.
Okay. And were you inventing at the time, or did you have an invention mindset or anything? No?
I think I started, as soon as I got out of school, I did start my own business. It was a ski rental store with my then husband. So we did start that, and we had that for a while. And then we ended up selling that. We actually built a ski shop, though. I actually was in the ski business for about 20 years.
Is that Forerunner Ski Shop?
Yes, that was the Forerunner Ski Shop.
Okay.
But living in a ski area, that kind of made sense, you know?
How was business? Was it booming in the winter and dead in the summer, or what'd you do in the summer, or is it year-round?
That's right. It was purely a winter. We followed the seasons of Killington, and so we were closed in the summer, but back then, business was great. The climate has changed a little bit for retail nowadays, but we had a real good run with it while we had it, and it was very enjoyable. But it was time to go after 20 years.
Why was it time to go? You were just bored, or?
No, it was time for a change, and we actually had a customer who approached us looking to buy a ski shop. We really weren't even for sale, so the timing really worked out well.
Was shoe-in, was that your first invention?
I probably tinkered with a few things beforehand, but that one was the first one that I really brought up that I thought had some potential. I was really excited about it. So I would say, I do have some things in the basement that were previous to that, but I never really did anything with it.
And when you say you had sort of ideas and things that you did that maybe you didn't act on it, what sort of things did you do?
I remember skiing one day up at Killington, and I was having lunch with my girlfriends, and we were at a table, and by the time you take your hat and your goggles and your gloves off, you had nowhere to put it. And I thought, this is crazy, because by the time you get your lunch on the table, everything is covering it. So I actually designed a mesh bag that was able to clip on pretty much any chair. And that way you could put your hat and your goggles and your gloves and keep the table free for your food, which was supposed to be doing. So I saw the problem and I tried to solve it, but I just really didn't take it very far.
You just built it for yourself? You didn't create about 100 of them or anything?
I actually created more than those. I did sell some to some ski areas. I'm trying to think. I might have sold maybe a few hundred, something like that. And I bet if I went in my basement, I still have them down there.
It makes me wonder, like, okay, you were the Forerunner ski shop in Killington, Vermont, and you were talking to other ski shop owners, so there was no real competition or no real bitterness between you and other stores?
No, I mean, we're in a ski area, and there's, I don't know, there were probably 10 other ski shops. You know, you find your niche, which we did. We were known for our clothing, and I would always try to get lines from Europe that nobody else had, so you didn't cross lines with everybody else. So we just did our own business, and we did a good job at it.
Sounds fun, because people seem always to be happy when they're going to go skiing. I mean, till they get hurt and they, or whatever, or get cold. But it must be fun, when people are looking to buy apparel and gear or rent it. Or did you do renting, or was it mostly selling?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we rented as well. But yeah, it was really fun to sell the big ticket items. And like I said, back then, kind of nobody blinked an eye, and there was a lot of cash, and times were good.
Sounds good. What is the shoe-in?
Well, shoe-in, living in Vermont, which can be pretty harsh, I just thought every time I would go grocery shopping or whatever, and coming from the car to the house, especially in snow or mud, I didn't really want to take my shoes off, but you always track in all that mess. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a product that you don't need your hands, you can click in and click out, very simple, and it'll go over any shoe or boot. So that's pretty much what I designed, and it took a while, of course, going through a lot of different stages of it, but that's what I figured out.
So it fits over every kind of boot or every kind of shoe, and that's so you can, I guess I don't quite understand exactly how it operates or how the benefits.
It had a grippy bottom, so all you needed to do, the design of it, I had an open toe one, and I had a closed toe one, and I had a spiked one for ice. If you were, say, going down the driveway, go check your mail or whatever. And all you needed to do was kick your foot into it. And on the top, if you will, the arch on the top, it had finger-like projections coming down. So it would just catch your shoe or your boot, and it would keep it in there. So you wouldn't need your hands, and there was no Velcro or tying or anything like that. So you just really would kick in and kick out. Very, very simple.
So you must have had a number of different variations of prototypes. Well, how was the prototype process? Did you start off on like just the size that would fit your own foot?
The prototyping, I took a while. I used some foam, and I had one of those big quilters needles, and I sewed it. I have to say, I find the dollar store is really important for making any kind of prototypes. You can really find a whole lot of materials in there that you can use. And so I started just to get the concept. And as far as sizing, I just collected a lot of different shoes and boots and put them in sizing. And then I kind of figured out really what would fit a small, what would fit a medium, a large, and an extra large. So there were 4 sizes of it, and I kind of hit it pretty much right on the sizing. But it was no left, no right, it was purely sizing.
Wow, okay. No, I was wondering about that because it seems like it would be expensive if you had to make one for every size and half size of shoe.
Yeah, no, we just kind of got around that pretty easily and quickly, because the way that it fits, even if there was a little bit of room or whatever, it would still stay on nice and tight.
So how did you decide upon a manufacturer?
Well, I had started with a company out in Oregon who was a shoe boot company, and they were not interested in picking up shoe-in, but they were interested in helping you manufacture it. So I did start with one of their manufacturers over in China, and I probably was with them for maybe, I'm not sure if it was a year, maybe a little less, but they started raising their prices, and it was starting to get a little bit too pricey. So I had to find a new manufacturer, which I did with the help of a product development company here in Vermont that I started working with. So they were able to hold my hand through the whole process, which was a long process, but we changed factories and we got the price down, we got the molds correct, and that's how we got it.
And when you went to get your patent, did it go right through? Did it take a long time? Did it cost what you thought?
Well, there's only 2 patent attorneys here in Vermont, so I did use the one locally. And it was a very well, long written patent application. And what happened was, it was pretty much from the prototype. And as things changed a little bit, we figured out that I don't think my patent was actually covering me correctly. So it was almost towards the end of the whole process that we re-looked at the patent and we're like, uh-oh, I'm not sure this is covered. So I had to quickly find a very good firm in Boston, spend a lot of money to make an amendment to the patent, which did cover me at that point. But had I not looked at it, I don't know that it would have been covered.
Wow.
Scary to think about.
So you got your patent and you've got your manufacturer, and you started having them produced, or where did it go from there?
Well, the patent took a couple of years, of course. That takes a while. And in the meantime, we had manufactured some. We brought them over, and we found a distributor in upstate New York who was willing to take the product in. And I think they covered the Northeast, maybe 13 states, something like that. So at least we had a place to land it. And we started off there. And in between, he really wasn't doing anything with the product. The guy that I was working with, Scott Hardy, had a contact with somebody else who actually showed quite a bit of interest in the shoe-in, but he wanted the whole 50 states. So the question was, how do we get out of our first distributor? We had a contract with them, and what happened was we were able to he clearly wasn't doing anything with it, so we gave him the opt-out, and he did. So now the new distributor was able to have the whole 50 states. And so he was excited about the product. And we did a sales meeting out with the company, the annual sales meeting, to introduce the product to the team. And from there, it's kind of history.
And history is? You sold it, right? How did you go from having a distributor to selling it to a large Midwestern industrial boot company and shoe company?
Well, I think there was a lot of luck involved, quite honestly. But other than that, he really liked the product. And I think they were looking at other avenues for it, more in the trade business, which they've developed as far as using that shoe-in for concrete workers. They've changed the bottom of it to adapt to many trade things. So I think he saw the potential. At the time we sold to him, we had 4 models. We also had a steel toe one for industrial plants that required steel toe boots. And that way people didn't have to take their boots off. They can just kick into those. We lined them up with 4 shoe-ins in different categories, and he's just expanded on that. And I think I haven't kept in touch with him because it's been a while, but I think he's been very successful with it.
Okay, but you didn't license it. You just actually sold the company?
That's right. We entered into an LOI agreement, and I think the only thing we were really waiting for to come through was the patent. And fortunately, the timing, we didn't have to wait that long. So once the patent came through, we were good to go.
How did you decide upon a price?
Well, we did a prospectus, and that's what my business partner, Scott Hardy's pretty good at. And so he did a whole breakdown and the potential of how many units per year. And it was a pretty scientific kind of thing. So we showed the potential of what it could do for him. And, year 1, year 2, year 3, I think we projected 4 or 5 years out. And I think that the numbers pretty much came out fairly correctly.
And And how much did you end up, if you don't want to say, that's cool, but how much did you sell it for?
I sold it for $1 million.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That must have been a fun ride to the bank with $1 million check in your hand, huh?
Oh, I kept calling him to find out, did the wire come through yet? Has it come through yet? And then when it did, it was champagne time.
Yeah, I can imagine you probably learned a new dance that night. You're like, yeah!
Yeah, pretty exciting. And I know I feel very fortunate that it did work out that way, no question.
Right on. Did you miss it, though? Or did you ever wonder about what would have happened if you just held on to it and grew the business like you wanted to or were planning on to?
No, that offer was too good to turn down. I was very happy with that. And I don't, if they did 3-4 times that good for them. I don't know. I have no idea, but I'm just saying I was happy with that. And, that wasn't a bad price for 2 years of work. So.
Okay, so I'm moving on to is it magnifier?
That's magnifier, right. Magnifier after that. I thought it was a brilliant idea, and I happened to be at Applebee's and having a sandwich or something, and I'm at that age where I need reading glasses, and I noticed everybody sitting there at the bar had their phone up on the counter, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a reading glass built right into your phone case? I just thought that was killer. I thought, oh, this has got to be another $1 million idea. And so that was my next project that I worked on for a couple years as well. And what I didn't really take into consideration was that phones change every 2 years, first of all. So a new one's coming out. Everybody loved the idea, and I showed it to some pretty big companies. But the problem was they all wanted it for other phones as well. Well, I have an Android. You have it for this one and this one. And I didn't. And I only had it for the Apple product, and I made it for the 4, the 5, and the 6. Unfortunately, what happens is that's an expensive process because you have to make molds for all the different models. And so I invested a little too much money probably in that project and went forward with manufacturing, which I shouldn't have. I just thought for sure I would be able to sell this. But so that's the flip side of that. I thought the idea was great. Everybody did like the idea, but the problem was it was just too narrow category iPhone. I needed to hit with all of them. So it would have been more of a universal type product. But so I learned from that one as well.
Did you ever try to just pursue a straight licensing deal for that?
I did, but then by the time things get rolling, there's a new iPhone out. And then nobody wants the old case because they're all, and so it's a vicious cycle really with the cell phone business. I don't think I would go near that one again unless it was some kind of a universal type of situation because, like I said, they change every 2 years. So I'm working on a new product right now. It's too early to go into any details yet, and I had a fashion accessory that I just signed a licensing agreement with. So we'll see on that as well. It's just how my mind works.
Do you think you'll be an inventor till you're long past skiing age?
I think most inventors, if you're just passionate about what you do. I just love what I do. And when I get an idea, it's just a great feeling, and it's fun for me. And I really like being creative. I like trying to solve problems, and I like to try and solve them in the easiest, most efficient way. And wherever that takes me, it takes me.
You spend a lot of money doing this. What was a good use of your money, and then what did you find to be a waste of money? I'm sure that when you find something to be a waste of money, you probably stop doing it. But what was a good use of your time and money?
I think probably getting the right person to help me kind of hold my hand through the first process because I really was green at it and I didn't know what I was doing. So that was money well spent. I certainly have in the past spent money on useless inventor type groups that promise you to look at it and you kind of think that, well, maybe they can really do something. there's a lot of those companies out there, and I think for the most part they're a waste of money.
I agree. There's you really got to know before you enter into anything who you're entering it with. But I've got a little section that I started new here. It's called The Passion, and it's just 4 questions. Whatever comes to your mind is nothing real in depth. What have you mastered? What do you think of in saying, I've mastered this?
I've mastered, I think more of the whole process of taking a product from start to finish.
Awesome. I think you'll probably be getting a lot of emails then. Okay. What gives you hope?
I hope that I continue to have good ideas. It would be really nice if I had one more hit wonder before it's all said and done. It's not the money necessarily, although that's wonderful. But I remember the first time going into a store and seeing my product on the shelves. There's just not enough money in the world to feel the gratitude on that. It's just a great feeling to see your product on the shelves.
I think that's the dream of most inventors. Okay, yeah. What would blow your mind?
If I died? Well, I suppose if I had another really big head, that would send me up into the orbit. But
and then the last one is, what change would you like to see in the world?
Oh, boy. That has nothing to do with inventing. I mean, you can go on world peace and all that, and it's a little the whole world's a little on edge right now. So that would, I have children and grandchildren, and that's my biggest fear, that the world peace is disrupted.
And last, I want to thank you, Leslie, for being our guest today on the Invention Stories podcast. As somebody came up to you with an advice, they're really green. They're very naive about inventing. What advice would you give them?
I try to find a mentor, first of all, that can help you. Maybe they've been through it before, they don't charge you, but you need some good free advice to get you on the right track before you spend too much money. Don't spend your money. You can really do a lot for little money. You can make your own prototype, and at that point you need to get some interest first before you spend any more money. That's my advice.
You've been listening to episode 42, our interview with Leslie Adami, inventor of the shoe-in. And I want to thank Leslie for being our guest today. You can reach Leslie via email at leslie.adami@aol.com. If you would like to become a sponsor of the Invention Stories podcast or have a suggestion on how we can make it better, please contact us at inventionstoriespodcast@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we invite you to write a positive review for us on iTunes. An easy way to get there is to go to www.inventionstories.com/review. More information and show notes can be found at our website, www.inventionstories.com. Thank you very much for listening today, and please tell a friend.